All right, my friend, let's dive into the 7 steps to a killer indie song. And step one in this process is very simple. Just start somewhere. Now, I was very intentional with this sort of connotation of just start somewhere. Like, it doesn't really matter where you start. And here's why. So, even if your song, if you take your song on the journey and it ends up drowning in a lake, that's okay. That's still better than you not taking your song on the journey in the first place. And the reason for that is because all of the lessons you learned, all the experience you gained from taking the song on that journey. And even though it didn't pan out the way you'd hoped, there's still so much value in the repetitions and getting that experience. So, I'm going to walk you through my top 4 options of where I recommend you start if you really just don't know where to start. So, hopefully, these will give you some inspiration. So, option 1 is to simply grab your headphones. So, this is very simple. Just open up Spotify or Apple Music and listen to music, listen to songs until you hear anything at all that perks your ears. So this could be anything from like a chord progression, a vocal performance, and like the energy. This could be a certain way a guitar is played, or a drum groove, or the texture, or the way it's produced or mixed, and then start from that place. Option 2 is reference your journal. So this is especially for those of you who perhaps lyrics is your strong suit and you like to start your songs from the place of you have this lyrical idea. This is a fantastic way to do it. So if you are a writer, then that probably means you have a notes app or a notebook that is full of scribblings and creative thoughts, ideas, lyrics, poetry, all of it. So just browse through until you find anything at all that you think is interesting, that appeals to you, right? So that is option number 2, is reference your journal. Option number 3, and this is probably my personal favorite, and this is to browse through sound banks and loop libraries. So just pull up any VSTs, any software instruments, or even if you have like Splice or Noise, just browse through loops and samples and just literally, almost at random, browse through a bunch of things until you hear something, until you come across anything at all that makes your ears perk. That makes you go like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then start from there. It's that simple. And then finally, option 4 is grab your instrument and sing gibberish. So this is sort of the opposite of option 2, which was reference your journal. That's more for those of you who are more the lyrics first types. Option 4 here is especially for those of you who are more the melody and chord progression first types. So you don't need to get the lyrics down yet. You just need to maybe grab your guitar or sit down at the piano or keyboard and come up with a very basic like melody or chord progression, and you can just sing gibberish. Like you can kick the can of having a polished lyric. That you can worry about that later. For this part, just focus on making your lyric, or your melody rather, and your chord progression, make sure that you have a good feeling and a good vibe just from you and your instrument, and then capture that and then start there. So that is option number 4. So those are my top 4 recommended options for how to start your song. Again, the premise of this is just start somewhere. It doesn't really matter. So I think the option that I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and start the song. You're going to be able to see this unfold. You're going to watch it happen. And the option that I'm going to start with, I'm going to go with option 3 here. That is browse through sound banks and loop libraries. So let's give this a shot. I don't know how this is going to go. I have no idea what sound I'm going to come across that is going to inspire the song that I'm about to create, but I'm going to go for it, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's hop over to Studio One, and I got a blank session right here, and like always, it doesn't matter which DAW you're using. Everything I'm teaching here is applicable across every DAW. So I think what I'm going to do is, since I'm the most familiar with this piece of software in particular, I'm going to use Omnisphere. Now, Omnisphere obviously is a pretty expensive piece of software, and it's a very elaborate piece of software. So it has almost every sound you would ever want or need. But don't feel discouraged if you don't have a piece of software like Omnisphere, especially if you don't even know what you have, because chances are you've got a lot of really cool VSTs and soft synths and whatnot inside of like that comes stock with your DAW. So make sure that you know what you have before you feel like you have to go spend a bunch of money for a piece of software like Omnisphere. But in any case, I think this is going to give me the best chance of coming across a sound that I really like. And what I love so much about this, amongst the many thousands of things I love about Omnisphere, is this shuffle option. So here are all the sounds. So all the sounds are right here right now because I don't have it filtered out in any way. So what I can do now is shuffle play. So now it is a random shuffle of all the sounds inside of Omnisphere. So this is where the fun starts. So now I'm just grab my keyboard and I'm just gonna browse through until I find something interesting. So let's see what we got. Am I actually going to go with the first sound, guys? I think I'm going to go with the first sound I come across because this is cool, right? Like, I think I'm going to start here. So that was quite uneventful because I went with the first sound that I came across, but I like it. So this could be like an intro. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now also is I'm gonna grab an audio track real quick and I'm gonna see if I can record just a little melody. Right, so we have just this sound. I'm gonna actually grab a little reverb. Let me just grab a little plate. Here, add it as a return track. Oh. So I'm just gonna record a little something. Yeah, I'm not even gonna worry about the vocal for now. I'm just gonna scratch that and I'm gonna go with, this is kind of where I'm starting from. So that's it, guys. I don't know where I'm gonna go from here, and it doesn't even matter. This is what's beautiful about this process. It doesn't even matter if I end up cutting this track, if I end up taking it in a completely different direction. Because again, you just need to start somewhere. And then as you continue to build the song, you might realize that your initial track doesn't really add the value that you thought it might. But because you started, then your song developed to the point where you didn't even need that initial track. See, it's the difference between thinking of your song from a structural, like building a house, versus a web. So, because if you think of it as a web, you don't have a foundation. What you have is everything works well together. And if it doesn't fit within the web, you can just delete it. Even if that track you deleted came in first, it doesn't matter. So, and that's why I don't like to think of it in terms of your song having this like foundation where your song has to follow through on the first thing you came up with, because that's not true. So what matters is that you just start somewhere, and that's what I did. I started with this sound, and then I have no idea where I'm going to go next with it, but the next step is going to be now step 2, which is really dial in a killer chord progression and melody. So we've done step 1, we have something to start from, now let's move on to step 2.